Now it's time for a breakdown.
Never gonna get it, 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 never gonna get it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Never gonna get it, 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 never get it.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Today we're going to examine the top 5 ladder decks for success to get you guys trophies fast after the previous balance update. Now, I am joined by some awesome, amazing pros who also happen to be specialists, including Morton, Richard, and Botcham, of course, with Lava Loon, right? So we're also going to sneak in a replay by yours truly. Cringe, but we're going to have some fun doing it. Guys, I can't wait to show you these decks and these replays. There will be no hog decks, surprisingly, in today's video, but I will go ahead and show you a couple decks on the overlay right now, and then we'll hop into the first match. So why no hog decks? Well, basically, right now, I feel like hog is in a good spot on ladder, but probably not as strong as it's been in the past, despite last balance change, one balance change ago, Jack finishing first overall using the classic 2.6 hog cycle deck. So let's start out with Nova Botcham's Lava Loon deck. Of course, guys, the decks will both be up on the overlay for you guys, and also the deck links to all 5 of the decks will be in the description below for your convenience. So enjoy the gameplay. By all means, don't just copy the deck and not watch the gameplay, because although this won't be intended as a full deck review on any of these 5 decks, it will be, you know, all of the replays I think hold some strategy keys and tactics that you guys want to emulate when playing these decks for yourselves. So we'll start out. Botcham goes ahead and opts to just mirror that mega minion play himself, and then his opponent uses a poison, so he's safe to kind of cycle minions behind that left tower. However, you'll notice this starting hand, Lava Hound was what, his second to last card, I believe, so he couldn't punish, he couldn't get any sort of a push going, and his opponent drops that giant in the back there on the right. So we learned for this from our last Lava Loon video, or actually it was just a Lava Hound tips video, but you always want to go same lane as another beatdown push with a Lava Loon deck, so we're going to do exactly that. The opponent drops down a Dark Prince and a Hunter here, but remember, Hunter has one big weakness. It can't shoot through targets, not like Magic Archer, not like Executioner, so the balloon actually does get to that tower. We're taking a little bit of damage too on the right, but we're down to 861. He's down to 437. This match does actually get a little bit closer here, so stay with us, you know. So what we're going to do is in Botcham's deck, this is his favorite version of the deck, by the way, guys. If your guards aren't up to level for some reason, you can go ahead and sub in Goblin Gang for guards in this deck, or Skeleton Army. So Skarmy or Goblin Gang are totally viable subs. And you can see here comes a pretty big push. Now Botcham is never afraid to use his Fireball on defense here. So using Fireball on defense, always a smart thing with this deck. As a matter of fact, he's not afraid to combo both Zap and Fireball using both of his spells against a Mega Minion or against any sort of big offensive push. So now, all of a sudden, we're not in the lead anymore. We switch lanes here, and the opponent also switches lanes. So this time, we're looking a lot better. That balloon is pushing that Lava Hound up at just a hair faster speed. You can see the opponent drops the Hunter down right now. We're going to take full advantage of the opportunity and zap Fireball real quickly against that Hunter. We get the Lava Hound and the balloon to that tower. Balloon's gonna take it down, no worries there. A great job there of taking care of that Hunter early, not letting him get a target onto that balloon, and we get the balloon to the tower with full health. So we were looking a-okay, guys. And then speaking of balloons, not at full health, but plenty of health enough, we take down that right tower. The opponent doesn't even get our right tower down. You can just see the decision making of Botcham, just always trying to stay one step ahead of his opponent. Beautiful match there in a great deck for a variety of arenas. Even if your balloon isn't max level, you can still use that deck, because if the balloon gets to the tower, it's gonna still do damage. So deck number 2, you're stuck with yours truly, but I love this deck. I've covered it before on the channel. And man, sometimes when you share a deck, and look, this is the guy I beat. He's the leader of Sandstorm, obviously a 100 times better than me as a player, but I was still able to come out with a victory because of this deck, because it's so dang good. It's my favorite Golem deck. As a matter of fact, it surpassed Three Musketeers to become my favorite deck overall. Speaking of Three Musketeers, why is there no Three Musketeers in this episode? I think Three Musketeers are super strong, but I hesitate to include them on ladder decks, because if they're under-leveled or if they're not max, I mean, you can get one shot by Fireball, and that really ruins the effectiveness. Anyway, back to this match here. I pump up, my opponent pumps up, but check this out. This is really the key of the entire match right here, guys. I let this baby dragon go on my tower. I know I have a 4 elixir lead, and I drop down that golem, and that was it. I mean, the match still has over 2 minutes left in it, but I think that was the key decision. I decided that my opponent maybe overcommitted a little bit with the baby dragon, and I was able to really capitalize. I took 600 damage, whatever. I don't care about that. Instead, I use a bad tornado coming up right here. Like, talk about an awful tornado. I pull everything to kind of right below my baby dragon instead of right in front of it, right? So, whatever. I was able to even make up for that little mistake on that tornado placement there. Meanwhile, I get that prince to the tower, a connection there, and he's stabbing away. He's going to take that tower down. Now, remember what Flobby told me on the Golem coaching video, is if your opponent drops an elixir pump behind their tower, you always want to shift attention and hit that tower. Even if you have the other tower down to like half HP, you always, so for example, if my opponent had, if I had still like, you know, 1100 damage on that left tower, I would still hit the right lane right now because I want to hopefully get that pump after I take out the tower. And this deck is heavy enough and powerful enough to do that, to get that job done. So if you guys want the full rundown on this deck where Flobby coaches me, it was a great episode. I loved it. Make sure you go ahead and check it out in the link below if this is your deck of choice out of today's video. So here we go. We use a good tornado that time. We pull everything together. However, we are able to kill his golem, but at this point, you know, he came out on top in that little exchange there. We're just going to cycle to a Dark Prince. We're going to end up cycling to Baby Dragon. Baby Dragon really, in my eyes, is the MVP of this deck. Or, you know, at least it's up there in effectiveness. The splash damage with the Dark Prince and the Baby Dragon synergizing with the tornado. And then for the tanks, you have Mega Minion and Prince. This deck is just so strong, guys. I mean, I put out a video on this deck, if you guys remember, probably like 3 weeks ago. And then I put out another video on this deck right before the update changes went through. So they were announced, but they hadn't gone into effect. And I theorized this would be the best deck in the meta. And I truly, truly believe it still is. Even if your epics are a little bit under leveled, try this deck out and see how you do with it. It's my favorite deck. I love it, right? Did I mention it's my favorite deck? Did I mention that at all in the episode? I don't know. All right, so let's go to deck number 3. Now, we talked about this yesterday. If you missed that video, check it out. Dar was on the video, another bait pro, and Morton has recently switched to the same version at the very, very top of ladder. It's the Valkyrie bait deck. It's bait, same bait deck that we've seen for a long time now, but it has the Valkyrie in it for Knight, because Valkyrie got a buff and Knight got a little haircut to his stats, so it makes all the sense in the world to sub in your Valkyrie for that Knight if the levels are there. If your Knight is still max and the Valkyrie is like level 9, I would still go with Knight in that situation. But all things being equal, I do prefer Valkyrie in this deck. You guys remember Morton, right? He's the guy who had 3 accounts, or was it 4? I think it was 3 accounts in Ultimate Champion last season. That is incredible. He has over 920,000, I think, 910,000, or is 800? I don't know. He has like 800,000 cards won minimum, okay? He's a beast, and he's always going to rocket Goblin Huts, and you saw that right off the bat here. So We'll take the -1 trade, but we can't deal with Goblin Huts with basically any deck. If you're running Rocket and your opponent Goblin Huts, I think right now it's pretty safe to say that it's okay to use your Rocket against it. So here comes Tom from Ad Astra using the Battle Ram behind the King Tower. So how are we going to set up for this? We're going to play the Princess opposite lane. We're going to have that Goblin Gang ready to use after the poison comes down. So poison comes down on Princess. We have Goblin Gang. That will clean up that, along with the log, that will clean up both the flying machine and the battle ram. So now it's time to go get a little bit of offense maybe. So are we going to send in the, oh no, we're going to have Rocket ready. Okay, we send in the Goblin Barrel, but we have Rocket ready for if the opponent plays the Goblin Hut. We know he has it in hand at this point. So we're just waiting. It's a matter of seconds before he has that Goblin Hut on the arena. And you can see every time we successfully defend, it's almost like we're sending in a little offensive surge. Just either an Ice Spirit and a Goblin Barrel, or just a solo Goblin Barrel. Trying to chip away again at that left tower while we play smart and steady defense. So here we go again. He drops a P.E.K.K.A in the left. We're going to drop a Princess in the opposite lane that the opponent is going for. Always the best play to do when you're at full elixir is drop that Princess. Keep cycling those Princesses, especially when you get into a double elixir time. This deck is great defensively. Here comes the Valkyrie, going to do some work here against this Battle Ram and free up some space against that P.E.K.K.A. Beautiful Rocket there. Valkyrie, just barely dies to that P.E.K.K.A swing there, but we're going to be fine. We can cycle all the way back to Valkyrie if we need it, but it looks like we're going to send in a log first, then the Valkyrie. She's going to go ahead and distract the Mega Minion and take care of those Barbarians. We have Tornadoes selected and ready. We pull everything back. Now it looks like the Flying Machine is going to get a few hits on our left tower, but we're still, substantially in the lead at this point, and the opponent doesn't have log, so we can just keep sending in the Goblin Barrel. The Goblin Barrel, right? The Goblin Barrel, Ash. Send in the Goblin Barrel, and we can do work on defense. So here we go again. It's the same push. We're going to use the same kind of strategy defensively. We're going to send in the Valkyrie. The opponent already used poison in the right lane, so we can cycle back to another Princess, pull everything together, and again, just a beautiful defense here. We're going to keep distracting everything, using the Ice Spirit. We have the Valkyrie, and this is going to be the final big push here, I hope, maybe, I don't know, but here it comes. It's the Goblin Barrel while the tower is connected to that Valkyrie. Valkyrie withstands one hit from the P.E.K.K.A. She dies to the second hit, but it doesn't matter. We already had the tower down. So that's why Bait with Valkyrie is number 3 on our list of top decks in the meta. How about number 4? Oh my god, it's this deck again? Yeah. It's this deck again, guys. This deck is really good. And Rich Art from Tribe, it's been a while since I've had a Tribe pro on the channel. From Tribe is going to do his thing and show us how to go against a Goizen deck. Speaking of Goizen, spoiler alert, guys, that will be the 5th deck in today's video. So here we go, starting with Spirit Goblin, trying to get a little bit of chip damage off the start. However, we don't really get any there, and the opponent chooses to zap the bats there. So we're going to go ahead and cycle really quickly. We have Goblin Gang, and we send in that Miner. So it's all about getting chip damage with this deck, obviously, but we do have several win conditions. We have, of course, the Miner, we have the Mortar, and then we have chip damage. We have the Spirit Goblins, we have the Minion Horde, anything that we can send in and get a little bit of damage at a time. This deck is actually really strong defensively, and I love this replay here by Rich Art because it just shows how placement, even in a confined area, is so key with this deck. So pay attention to the decision making that he makes, especially on defense. So look at that beautiful Miner distracting that Dark Prince. We're actually going to take down the Dark Prince, and we're going to zap him, putting us in the damage lead. Spirit Goblins lock onto that right tower, taking it down to 2-2-9-6. So here we go. The opponent looks to be setting up for a P.E.K.K.A in the back, knowing he has a couple elixir lead. So indeed he does. There goes the P.E.K.K.A, and you're going to see how we do this, guys. First off, we're going to get some more chip damage with Spirit Goblins. So Spirit Goblins take another few hundred HP off that tower, and then we're going to set up defensively with the Mortar. The opponent has the poison selected here. We're going to start off with Bats. We draw out the Zap with the Bats. Here comes the Executioner. Now this could be very tricky. He has poison in hand, he has Executioner. We're going to freeze the Executioner. We're going to use quickly our Minion Horde. The opponent does still get a swing off on that tower, barely before we get to those Spirit Goblins. but it was pretty nice defense, all things considered. I mean, this guy does have Executioner, he has Ewiz, he has Zap and Poison against our very bait-heavy deck, right? So, not sure if we needed that Ice Spirit. Either way, the Ice Spirit will connect, I believe, yes it does, to that right tower. Now let's see how we defend against this next offensive sequence. This is going to be tricky. So again, Bats, again, Zap. So now it's a P.E.K.K.A coming in. We're going to place those Spirit Goblins. We need to direct that Executioner away, so we use our Miner. It's really important with these decks, guys, that we use the Goblin Gang to get the P.E.K.K.A out of the poison range. Really important to use this deck when you're playing it, just like Richard is doing here, is you have to be very, very careful. You want to make sure that you play almost one defensive swarm card at a time and wait for the opponent to react, and then go to your next one. You really don't want to be in the position where you're spamming down Bats and Ice Spirit and Goblin Gang and Spirit Goblins all at once. You'll give your opponent way too much value. So again, let's see how we do it. This time we don't have the Miner in hand to redirect that Executioner. We're forced to kind of stall things out there with the Bats, and then we play the Goblin Gang right in the corner, again protecting them, excuse me, from that poison. Beautiful play there. Again, we were trying to misdirect that Executioner. It doesn't matter, guys. We're going to get Spirit Goblins locking on in just a second, take down that right tower, and boom. Really well played there. You can see that just how important, even against a tricky matchup, how important redirecting the Executioner is, and then playing your defensive hand really, really smartly, making really proper and good decision making. So let's go ahead with the last replay here. This one is from TV Royale. I chose this one because Moog at the bottom, just again, really on the spot with his decision making, and I want you guys to watch and pay attention and see if we can maybe learn a few things with this Giant Double Prince deck. Giant Double Prince, there's a couple of versions. I'll flash the other one with legendary cards on the screen for you guys. I don't know which one is better. They both are really good, I think, right? One with Musketeer, one with Ewiz, and there's a few other subs that you can make too. Again, I'll flash it on the screen, but you can see right off the bat here, we really get to Nova JSJ, and he's playing 3 Musketeer decks, so we know that he has a pretty decent advantage going into double elixir time. So we do want to punish early and often, if at all possible, and we do connect there, taking down his pump and doing a lot of damage to that left tower. So here we go. The opponent looks to be getting ready to pump again, maybe. I think they want to defend against this last push. It looks like it's just going to be a Dark Prince, so we're going to go ahead and pump up. Now, as we pump, we hit the opposite lane with a Giant and a Prince. Unfortunately, the opponent does have Minion Horde in cycle. We hadn't seen the Minion Horde yet, but we do still get a few stabs with the Prince on that right tower, but I think that was probably a win for JSJ there. We go ahead and we're patient with that Zap. We wait to see if he's going to combo anything else. He doesn't. We zap the Minion Horde. So far, so good. You saw how last time on that last sequence there, we pushed with the Dark Prince still in the left lane, and we pushed with the Giant Prince in the right lane. Now, JSJ is using that Elixir Collector solely to lure out that poison there from Moog. But what JSJ does here is interesting. He decides to just go all out in the right lane. He drops the Horde. He knows poison's not in cycle, hoping to connect on this right tower. But a beautiful Zap combo with the Musketeer really prevents almost all damage on that right tower. Again, the decision making here is really solid. We saved our poison, we use our poison on the 2 Musketeers in the right lane. Now we're gonna go for the left lane. Remember, the opponent just dropped that Elixir Collector. We know we have the temporary Elixir advantage. We send in that Prince. The Bandit does make contact with our Prince. However, we're able to shut her down, I think. We do, yes. So again, guys, look at this. We've taken really no damage up until this point. It's a really well-played match here by Moog. However, he knows that it's going to be trouble. This game is not over yet, and the opponent goes all in with 3 Musketeers in the right lane, just hoping to really overcome the defenses here. But we play the Giant, and now we have to play the poison against the Musketeers, but we know they're going to get a lot of damage. Here comes the split lane push. This is a lot going on here. We forced to use Zap against those Minion Horde, and luckily Luckily, we're able to take down the Dark Prince in just amount of time before the minion horde does a lot of damage to our left tower. Meanwhile, our right tower down to 11-18. Now, why are we going all out offensively here? It's really simple. We don't want JSJ to be able to support that push with the 2 Musketeers. We want him to have to defend a little bit in the left lane. That's exactly what he does, and that is really what made the difference there and allowed us to secure the victory if we're Moog. You can see a little BM at the end too. No one's a big fan of that, but still very well played there, especially that last decision, and it's something that I want to leave you guys with as far as a thought goes for any of these decks. No matter what you're playing, sometimes the best defense is more offense in the opposite lane. That way your opponent can't truly support the push that they really want to execute on you in the other lane. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, huge shout out to Moog, Richard, Morton, Botcham, and I guess yours truly, and of course to Bren Chong, my YouTube partner. Make sure you check out all their information. Botcham, by the way, on Twitter now as well. All their information as well as the deck links in the description below. Guys, thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care, guys.